Alright, now this is a second video for the project, and we continue from this login block, and we'll start making this part. Okay, this link. So let me turn off this first, and again build a new part and a place you can have access to, a name that you can remember. So again, this part is just a couple of simple extrude. The hard part is on the sketch. Okay, so if let's take a look. So the origin is at the bottom. You could also put it here. Okay. Yeah. So we have the teeth, which is matching the teeth on the other part. And be careful, this line is not vertical, but let's just start the part. So sketch. Right, now we're in the sketch. We'll start from the bottom, and you don't see any dimensions here because we have this on the right view, or yeah, this is maybe this is the left view. Anyway, so it's 1/8. Okay, then the bigger hole is the bigger cylinder is 7/22, and above it's a little bit bigger, a 1/4 inch. So we'll start from the bottom. Yeah, 1/8. Again, we need to have a sense of the scale, how big this is by zooming in. So next one is 7/32, and we have another one on the top, 1/8, the smaller one. The bigger one is a 1/4 inch. Okay, it doesn't matter where, as long as they're concentric. Then the top have another one, 1/8. So we could have put 3 1/8 first. That'll be a little bit faster. Alright, so we have those cylinders or holes. Then we can make sure they are on the y-axis. So all 3 sets of them are on the y-axis. Now we'll use a constraint, point on curve. So we need to constrain those 2 centers to the y-axis. So for the second item, we'll select the y-axis, and we can adjust the dimensions a little bit. Okay, if you don't like that many dimensions, you can put a constraint like the same equal radius for the 3 1/8 circles. All right, next is the vertical distance. So we'll just follow the drafting, put at the same spot. So it's 1 plus 11/32. That's a nice thing about the equation. You don't have to calculate anything. So this is 15/32, and they turn green. They are fully constrained. Then we'll start from the left side. It's a tangent line from the bottom circle to the middle circle. So start from this point on curve and make sure this is tangent. Okay. So that's vertical, and this is actually this circle is a little bit bigger. You want to snap to this position, and you can wait for a while for these 3 dots. Then you'll be able to pick exactly which one you want. Okay. So this is tangent and not vertical. Then we go to the top, and if you zoom in here, you can see this line goes through the center of the circle, and the other line goes through the center of the circle. So we can either start from the tangent point, and now it's not tangent. Alright, so if it's, let's say, if you started not tangent because you pull out from the circle this way, you can go back into the circle and pull out the tangent direction. That will be tangent. Okay, so this actually goes through that, and this perpendicular symbol indicates it's perpendicular to the circle, which also means it goes through the center. Okay, so this goes that way. We can hover a little bit, make sure this one might be perpendicular. Okay, so I'll just go overshoot this, and so those two constraints are the same as these two. Then the top circle is the radius 30 seconds. So we can have a whole circle here. Radius, then diameter is 16. And their tangent, we can click this and click the arc, make some tangent. Okay, then you can turn on the dimension tool, take a look if they're constrained. So the only thing is the length of this line. We can trim this off. And as to how much you need to trim on this side, it seems hard to tell, but it's actually intersect with those two construction circles. So we have two circles that's for the teeth. So we'll make those two. I'll just make the whole circle. So if you look, they are using the same center. So we'll just snap to this point. The radius is the smaller one is 17 over 32, so the diameter is 16, and the second one is 9 over 8 for diameter. Okay. Alright, now if you want, you can turn them to reference, so you know they are not involved in any extrude or revolve. Then starting from the top, or we can start from this side. It looks like there's a straight line down here, goes through the center. Then there's a tangent arc, okay, which goes connects to the bottom straight line. So two ways you can do: line, arc, and line, or you can do line, and the fillet. Okay. So we can use try different tools. So profile tool, go down here. And this one should be tangent to be vertical, because that goes through the not vertical, perpendicular, goes through the center. So keep it this way. And next is arc, tangent. So pull out tangent. Then it'll come back to the straight line. So we'll try to snap to the arc. Okay, that's done. That's tangent at the bottom, which is good. This is not tangent, okay, because you can make sure, it's hard to make sure it's tangent to both arcs. So we come back at the tangent constraint. Then we have a dimension, the angle for this line to x-axis, 87 degrees. Then also this one to this line, okay, to the vertical axis, which is y, should be 60 degrees. And it's still not constrained, but that's only the arc here. So if you add a radius, 13 over 32, and that's green, good to go. So next is the teeth. We'll start from that 3.7 angle. The little teeth here, we'll zoom in at this corner. So we can use profile, or so that's an intersection point, which by default is not turned on. So you have to come here, turn on intersection, snap, then you will be able to find that point. Okay, then go straight up, and which is good. We need a perpendicular, since this one should go through the center. Okay, if not, this is a little bit annoying. So I'll turn off the arc center, snap here, snap here, and we might need to get this one also. Or we can use a construction line. Okay, so first make sure this little line goes through center of the circle. Okay, so you can see the dashed line here. And the second, we'll need a reference line from this point to the center of the circle. Turn to reference. Oops. Alright, turn to reference so we can have something to put a dimension, the angle. And it paused again. I have to wait for a while. Alright, so that's 3.7 degrees. Okay, and that is for one tooth. Then how many we have? You actually don't have to count. We'll just do a pattern and a single curve. Remember, we just need to pattern those two. The point is this. Okay, then that's the wrong direction. We'll just flip, reverse the direction. It's not all the way yet, so the pitch is the same, 3.7. The count, it might be 16. Let's see what happens. Hit enter, you see it's too much, so we need to subtract 2, so 14, and that's inside, so we'll say OK. And here, if you take a look at here, so this line goes all the way down. We can quick extend this line. Okay. You can also leave this section here, okay, because we're gonna extrude using some, the region boundary curve. You don't have to trim that off. If you want to, it might take out some constraints. Let's see what happens. That's still good. You just remember to trim this off. Okay, looks everything's still good. One constraint needed. That might be the construction line. It's not here. Seems like this point can still move. Let's try to move it. It's actually not moving. Let's see what happens. So there's one point here that can move. Might be the end of this construction line. Yeah. Okay. So if you're really picky about these things, you can make sure it's sits on the center of the arc, so it's fully constrained. So if you want a little bit neater on the sketch, you can trim those construction line off, and you still have those two. Also trim them off, but that'll take out the dimensions and we lose some constraints. So I'm not going to do that, just leave them there. Alright, fully constrained, then I think we can probably trim this off. Okay, trim that off. And the bottom, if you we need to leave this because we need to extrude those cylinders. Okay, then say you don't like diameter radius, so anyway, we'll trim this off first. Okay, so we lose the radius for those two. We need a radius, and also seems like it took out our constraints. Okay. So best way might be just keep the whole circle, but I'll try to fix this. This one should be concentric with that one. And there's something else going on here. This point. Alright, at this point we can have this line and this line perpendicular. I should take care of that. So it's fully constrained. And I'm good. So the sketch is good. And we can extrude. So the thickness is 1/8. Extrude region boundary curve. When you extrude this area, we probably don't need to extrude those because we're gonna extrude later. So symmetric 1/8 for total, so 1/16 for a half. Apply. Then for the bigger cylinders, they are symmetric, 1/4 inch. We'll do the bigger cylinders first. Symmetric, 1/4 and a half. Divide by 2 is 1/8. Then the smaller ones, that's actually the same as the other part. So let's move this. Here, so it's 1/8, it's half of that, 1/4, then plus 1/16, it's for the top side. Then for the bottom, it's minus 1/8, minus 1/32. Okay, and Boolean is automatically on the invert unite. So I'll say okay. This is a single body, extruded. Okay. Alright, so that's for this part. And yeah, so that's all for the first 2 parts. Alright, thank you.